self-knowledge. Adi Shankaracharya's 68-verse treatise on the philosophy of non-dualism, the absolute oneness of ultimate reality, by Roy Eugene Davis, a direct disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda. Preface. We are innately inclined to want to realize our true nature and know the ultimate reality commonly referred to as God. The direct way to realize our true nature and fully know ultimate reality is to regularly practice yoga, to repeatedly unify our attention and awareness with our essence of being until the truth is self-revealed from within us. All knowledge of the one reality and its processes is within each of its units. With self-realization, your knowledge of the one reality and its processes is realized. Hearing about what is true is helpful. Contemplating it is more beneficial. Realizing it is liberating. It is my hope that the information presented in this book will be immediately helpful to every person who reads it, beneficial during their endeavors to acquire accurate knowledge of higher realities, and realized when their consciousness is fully illumined. By Roy Eugene Davis, January 2010. Introduction. Shankara was born in the 8th century on the west coast of South India. After studying the Vedas, he was initiated into the monastic life at an early age by Govindapada, a renowned ascetic of that era. In our Kriya Yoga tradition, it is said that he was initiated by Mahavatar Babaji. After devoting himself to yoga practices and meditation, Shankara wrote commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, some of the Upanishads and other scriptures, and travelled throughout India declaring the oneness of a supreme reality and refuting erroneous philosophical doctrines. He reorganized the ancient renunciate Swami order and established permanent monastic centers in 4 regions of India: Mysore in the south, Puri in the east, Dwarka in the west, and Badrinath in the Himalayas. Most of his biographers say that he left his body in his 32nd year at Kedarnath in the Himalayas. At that time, it was believed by some people that he went to a secluded region of the Himalayas to live there as a mortal immortal. Shankara lived during an era when Sanatana Dharma, or the eternal way of right living, was beginning to be more widely emphasized. Authoritative leadership was lacking, and conflicting religious sects were promoting a variety of philosophical opinions. His emphasis on the oneness of a supreme reality and the divinity of each person was a harmonizing influence. Beside expounding his non-dualistic views as presented in Self-Knowledge, he also wrote poems and composed hymns to reverently honor a variety of gods and goddesses, real or imagined aspects of the cosmic powers and their influences, to inspire and encourage people in all walks of life to be devoted to right living and spiritual practices. Shankara's Ocean of Divine Beauty has 100 hymns or songs of praise that can be recited to arouse spiritual ardor and contemplated to provide helpful insights. The word Lahari suggests surges of spontaneous, wave-like outpourings of gratitude from the devotee as portrayed in these verses. In the lotus with 1,000 petals, or the crown chakra in the higher brain, you or the awakened spiritual energy interact with your Lord or pure consciousness in secret. Having entirely traversed your path, the earth element principle in the base chakra, water in the second, fire in the third, air in the fourth, space with fine essences in the fifth, mind at the sixth, or the spiritual eye between and above and eyebrows. By my self-surrender, let my talking be recitations of your name, the movements of my limbs be gestures of worship, my walking be walking around and with you, my food be a sacrificial offering to you, my lying down be bowing before you. Whatever I do, let it be transformed into an act of worship of you. Some proponents of non-dualism naively say that the universe and its contents are illusions. Mistaken perceptions of objective and subjective conditions are illusions. Self-knowledge. 1. I am composing self-knowledge for those who have been purified by the practice of austerities, are peaceful in heart, free from cravings, and fervently desirous of liberation. Austerities that purify the mind include the right performance of necessary duties, control of thoughts, emotions, speech, and behaviors, and meditative contemplation. We are peaceful in heart. Our essence of being, when we are established in self-contentment at all times, regardless of objective or subjective conditions that may exist. We are free from cravings when we no longer have strong desires to have experiences in this world or in subtle realms. When our fervent desire to be liberated is constant, we are naturally inclined to do what is necessary to allow our innate knowledge of true nature to be self-revealed. Self-knowledge results in liberation of consciousness. 2. As fire is the direct cause of cooking food, so knowledge and not any kind of action is the direct cause of liberation of consciousness, which cannot be had without knowledge. Ethical, compassionate, disciplined living and superconscious meditation are preparatory practices used to calm the mind, clarify awareness, and improve powers of discriminative intelligence and intuition. Only when innate knowledge of our true nature and of the one reality fully emerges and is permanently present are we liberated. Before we are liberated, we should know that at the core of our being, we are always whole, pure, serene, and joyous. Only the surface of our awareness may be blurred and fragmented. Why actions cannot cause self-realization? 3. Actions cannot remove ignorance. Knowledge alone dispels ignorance as light dispels darkness. Ignorance or absence of knowledge of our true nature cannot be removed by ignorance-impelled actions. Knowledge of higher realities acquired from a reliable source can be helpful to sincere truth seekers who are sufficiently motivated to learn how to allow their own innate self-knowledge to emerge. When the true nature of the universe and the relationship between it and one's essence of being is known, and when one knows that lack of knowledge causes souls to forget their true self and to suffer, one desires to be relieved of misfortune. Freedom from the bonds of ignorance then becomes the primary aim of life. Swami Sri Yukteswar. The primary cause of a mistaken sense of self-identity. 4. It is only because of ignorance that the self appears to be finite. When ignorance is banished, the self, which does not admit to any multiplicity, reveals itself by itself like the sun when a cloud is removed. Incomplete perception of one's real nature is the primary cause of restrictive conditions which may be dormant, weak, aroused, or freely expressive. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Samadhi is realized when fluctuations and changes in the mind and awareness are restrained and pacified. The seer or knower then abides in its own essence. How mind and consciousness are purified. 5. By repeated practice, knowledge purifies the mind and consciousness of the embodied soul, then itself disappears as a cleansing agent disappears after water has been purified. Frequent practice of superconscious meditation brings forth self-knowledge that purifies subconscious levels of the mind and clarifies consciousness. Until we are self-realized, we may be inclined to think that this knowledge comes from an external source. With self-realization, that erroneous notion disappears. Meditation is conscious awareness of the presence of God within us. It is revealed when our consciousness is purified by liberating it from all concepts of duality and finiteness. Lahiri Mahasaya. Awakening from the dream of mortality. 6. The world filled with attachments and aversions, and the rest, the variety of possible mental and emotional states common to the ordinary human condition, is like a dream that appears to be real as long as one is ignorant. It is seen as unreal when one is awake. In the absence of self-knowledge, perceptions are flawed. Illusions are common. Causes of events and circumstances are not always known, and what is observed may be thought to be independent of its source. Paramhansa Yogananda often told the disciples to remember that a changeless reality exists behind the drama of ordinary life. He said that events, as most people experience them, are like motion pictures that one observes without being aware of how they are projected on the screen of space and time. That which endures without changing is said to be real. That which can be modified, exchanged, or will cease to exist is not of itself real. Expecting transient things, circumstances, or relationships to provide us with lasting security or happiness will eventually result in discomfort or disappointment. When the fluctuations in one's mind and awareness are transcendent during meditation and consciousness is purified, the Supreme Self is realized. Lahiri Mahasaya. From that flash of perception which occurs when one meditatively contemplates in the crown chakra, knowledge of ultimate reality is revealed. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. How long do illusions of what is real remain? The world appears to be real until one supreme reality, the basis of everything, is fully known. It is like the illusion or an appearance of silver in an oyster shell. Things, events, and circumstances in the mundane realm come into manifestation and eventually disappear. They exist, but they are not inherently real because they are not permanent. That is why spiritual aspirants are advised to avoid attachments to external conditions and learn to rely on the source of everything for their security and well-being. One reality is self-existent. 8. Various forms exist in the imagination of the perceiver, the substratum being the eternal, all-pervading reality, which is pure existence and intelligence. Names and forms are like bangles and bracelets. The eternal reality is like gold. Gold is still gold when it is formed as jewelry. The pure essence of ultimate reality does not change regardless of outer appearances. Knowing that all that is observed in the mundane realm is insubstantial does not mean that we can be irresponsible or impractical. Duties are to be skillfully performed. Relationships that are of value are to be nurtured. And the environment is to be cared for while we are awakening to self-knowing. By what is observed appears to be varied. 9. As the all-pervading space appears to be diverse because of its association with various restricting conditions and is perceived as one when the restricting conditions are absent, so the omnipresent reality appears to be diverse because of its association with the various restricting conditions. It is perceived as one when they are absent. The universe is a manifestation of cosmic forces emanated from the radiant field of supreme reality. When the mind is serene, the reality of God is reflected in it. Lahiri Mahasaya. Why differences in what is observed are thought to be real? 10. Because of identification with restricting conditions, such ideas as social status, color, and one's role or place in life are falsely presumed to be characteristics of the self, as flavor and color are mixed with water. Every person is a unit of pure consciousness, regardless of their personality characteristics, the role they play, or their social status. The acquired habit of identifying with modified mental states and objective phenomena causes and sustains their flawed perceptions of being independent units of consciousness separate from one reality. Erroneous ideas and opinions do not modify the pure self, which cannot be influenced by them. During sleep and when our attention is absorbed in meditative superconsciousness, we are not conscious of our physical body or egocentric views. The body through which souls have physical experiences. 11. The body through which the self experiences pleasure and pain is determined by past actions and formed out of the 5 great subtle elements, which becomes gross when one half of one subtle element joins with 1/8 of the other 4. Thoughts, feelings, and actions produce or attract a variety of effects and perceptions which impress memories in the subconscious levels of the mind. Influential subconscious impressions may be supportive, debilitating, or have little or no effect. Subconscious impressions which cause effects may be karmic or causative influences which, if troublesome, can be overcome. Constructive thinking and behaving, discerning the difference between our true nature and ordinary states of consciousness, and superconscious meditation resist, weaken, and neutralize troublesome subconscious influences. The subtle element essences of space, air, fire, water, and earth, when combined, produce corresponding gross material substances and characteristics. Sequential manifestations of cosmic processes are described in Samkhya philosophical system, in which objects of knowledge are precisely defined. Every person is born with a basic mind-body constitution which, when maintained in a balanced condition, contributes to health and well-being. Ayurvedic life knowledge regimens can be helpful in maintaining one's mind-body constitution in a constant state of balance. Such regimens may include the cultivation of optimism and emotional stability, detoxification of the body when necessary, appropriate exercise, oil massage, food choices, regulated routines of wholesome activity, and adequate sleep, and superconscious meditation practice. Approximately 100 elements are known to exist. Elements are composed of atoms which have a dense, positively charged nucleus surrounded by electrons equal to the number of nuclear protons. Some major elements used by the body in its functions are oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. Also used are small quantities of sulfur, chlorine, sodium, zinc, and magnesium, and traces of iron, cobalt, copper, manganese, fluorine, iodine, boron, aluminium, molybdenum, selenium, and chromium. The subtle body. 12. The subtle body, the instrument of soul's experiences, consists of 5 aspects of prana, 10 organs or differentiated parts of an organism adopted for specific functions. The mind and the faculty of intellect, formed from rudimentary, not yet fully developed elements before their subdivisions and combinations. In the non-dualistic system of philosophy, a soul or jiva in Sanskrit is considered as one's spiritual essence identified with modified states of mind and consciousness. It is this mistaken sense of self-identity that is to be redeemed by self-knowledge. When a person who is self-realized still has subconscious conditionings to neutralize or transcend or erroneous notions in the mind, he or she is said to be spiritually free while embodied. Supreme freedom or mukti in Sanskrit from all limiting conditions is the final stage of self-realization. The subtle body is composed of 5 aspects of prana, 10 astral capacities of smell, touch, taste, hearing, sight, generation, excretion, mobility, manual dexterity, and speech, along with the causal components of a mind used to process perceptions and think, and the faculty of discriminative intelligence. The 5 aspects of prana are that which rises upwards, that which moves downward, that which regulates those two, that which carries gross food to the downward moving aspect and transports subtler material to various parts of the body, and that which brings up or carries down what has been eaten or swallowed. The subtle body is retained by a soul that experiences astral life after physical demise. In the causal realm, the 5 sense capacities are absent, intelligence and intuition are used. Souls in the causal realm instantly travel near or far by intention. Mastery of meditative contemplation provides insight and revelations of higher realities. The self is other than the physical, astral and causal bodies.